All right, buddy. I think we're going.
Hey, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the Turn Golf Podcast. I'm Andrew Putters. I got Joe Nicely here, lead editor at Rotoballer.com. Joe, we are fastly approaching the halfway point of the golf season. Rotoballer.com, we got some stuff going on for the summer and getting fired up. Everybody's already starting to dive into this football since we're post-draft season. What we got going on over at Rotoballer.com and yeah, talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, man. Football never sleeps. If you're a big football fan, you can come over and check out our content on that. We have it year round, dropping stuff throughout this week. Baseball, we got you covered. Got great writers over there covering baseball, and of course golf. Myself, Spencer Aguiar, Byron Lindecue, the Model Maniac, a couple of great contributors, and Matt Miller doing live articles. That article just went up tonight. You can check that out free. Ian McNeil's doing some good stuff. Josh Bennett does his course breakdown. So we got just an amazing lineup of writers, tremendous content. We feel like it's some of the best in the industry. Lots of free stuff. And you can also sign up for our premium packages. We got 3 different options for you over there. Use our promo code TURN. You'll save 10% on that. Huge summer events coming up, AP. We still got 2 majors left, and we take you all the way through the FedEx Cup Championship. So visit rotoballer.com, use our promo code TURN to sign up, and we think you'll be glad that you did.
Yeah, Live Tour's got some stuff to talk about now. So, Joe, let's just go ahead and dive right in. PJ Championship. I've listened to a few podcasts over the last couple of days. PJ Championship. What were your thoughts? And I can follow up on that after you give me yours. Brooks Koepka, block party, everything.
Tough not to just kind of lead things off with Brooks Koepka. He's back. We've talked about it on this show, kind of his struggles, physically, mentally. Been a very long road for him. I actually think Liv's been good for him. Let him get healthy and play in a kind of a more stress-free environment. We know Brooks never really cared about regular tour events anyway. So I think in Brooks's case, it's actually probably been good for him to let him kind of get healthy, gain some confidence. I think that's such an important part of his game is the mental side and his confidence. I believe that's back. We saw that at the Masters, even though he couldn't finish things off. And we talked about on here last week, man. I had Spencer and Byron on with me, and we talked about the course fit. It was just perfect, set up perfectly. So reminiscent of courses where he's played well, like Bethpage, Shinnecock. So just really liked what he did, man. And 5 majors now, AP. We're getting into kind of historical territory, more than Rory. So it's pretty interesting. As far as kind of the modern guys, Brooks is leading the way once we take Tiger out of the equation. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do the rest of the year. I mean, I think he's certainly in play at the U.S. Open. I don't know that LACC is going to suit his strengths, but anything can happen. And then we've seen him play well in Open Championships, so not out of the picture for Brooks to maybe be in contention for another major this year. As far as the rest, man, the block party, really cool story. Gotta admit, we're kind of getting on like day 4 or whatever, and we're going to see it throughout this week at Colonial. So, it's kind of running its course with me, but a very cool story. Seems like a great dude. Very, very excited for him. Really cool that he gets to play this week, and hopefully he can keep it going. But that's all I'm going to kind of touch on with that, man, because we're kind of getting down in the nitty gritty with the block story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess guy shoots 281 in the major, pretty neat. But really, to top it off, playing with Rory on Sunday, hole in one on 15. Now he's probably going to get exemption. I mean, he's probably going to play in like the max. You have to think he'll play in the max sponsor exemptions the rest of the year, right? But and more so, what's neat is that the country club, his home club backing him up, and yeah, just the support he's gotten overall. And I'm fine with some of the one-liners and stuff, whatever. I've heard them all because I've watched a bunch of podcasts because I was wanting to hear more about the story, right? Before, but yeah, you're right. There's been a lot of talk about it. Maybe we'll just leave it at that. But it's still a great story. I did like, he's sitting there telling all the pros, the PJ members there, I did this for you guys, did it for you guys. Pretty cool story. And even though, he had been saying if he even had an opportunity, he probably would just go back to the shop over being on tour full time. So, but definitely he's got some serious game. He just don't hit it far, right? Which, like he said, this golf course will set up for him this week. Real quick, let's do some laundry here. You've already mentioned at rotoballer.com, everything to do for the turn. Right now, you can watch us. You're probably watching live on one of 5 places: LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. If you're on there, like, share, comment, send us an email, do something. Tell your friends about it. We'd appreciate it. So, PJ Championship. I'm gonna talk about something. I heard, listened to some press conferences this past week, Joe, at the PGA. Very surprised there wasn't. I felt like the reporters took it pretty easy on Brooks after he won, and they took it real easy on Zach Johnson before the tournament started, talking about Ryder Cup stuff. Then I could have made a statement that Brooks maybe, he's played better this year, but DJ definitely. Now we're definitely Brooks, maybe most likely DJ, who knows. And then they got that PGA. I love the PGA of America, but the president or whatever gets up there in the booth and just what he vomited out all that nonsense, and then wouldn't even shake Brooks's hand after the tournament. What classless people we're dealing with here. But the reporters took it pretty easy on Zach Johnson. I would actually recommend anybody going out there to watch it, check it out, and see what his answers were. But from the vibe that he was kind of giving from the microphone, and he said the best players are going to play. And I don't see how, if Brooks plays off of the rest of the others, no way he'll leave him off. But now, anyway, Zach Johnson's press conference made me think of this. It just, to me, this is the vibe we got. We know what the Masters is, right? It's Augusta National every year. We know what the Open Championship is, 6-7 course rotation across the pond. I kind of have this feeling that, like, the PGA Championship should be like the really, really good historic country clubs that we know. And then the U.S. Open should be these big, the public courses.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Like, Shinnecock, let's take Shinnecock out of the U.S. Open. It needs to be a PGA Championship venue. That just kind of gives that more of that feel to me. I mean, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I kind of like the vibe of, like, the U.S. Open being played on public courses. We've seen it with Bethpage, obviously, Torrey Pines, but I guess there's just Pebble. I mean, it's public, but it's very expensive. But in Pinehurst, same thing. But yeah, I like the idea of that. I think there's a lot of history that probably makes that kind of impossible. They're always going to want to play opens at Wingfoot. They're always going to want to play opens at Shinnecock, just because of the history. But I do like the idea. And, man, we've had some really good PGA championships in recent years. When you start thinking back, I thought this year was great. It was a little more U.S. Open like, but good. The golf course was great. Kiowa was awesome. I think everybody would agree on that. Harding Park was fun. So, I mean, we've had some really good PGAs. I like the courses we've seen lately. I think we've got some interesting ones coming up. So, just feeling really good about the majors here lately, man. It seems like we've kind of been on a heater. Some would argue how exciting this one was. Don't want to skip over Victor Hovland, man. Tip of the hat to him. Played really, really tough, and I've been super impressed with where Vic's game has went this year, where it's gone this year at the majors, a T7 at the Masters, and then hung really, really tough. Got a bad break in that bunker, but he hung right in there, punch for punch with Brooks. to finish tied for second. So tip of the cap to Victor. Definitely want to give him a shout out. Tip of the cap to Scotty hanging in there. Bad Saturday for him, but another great result. For those rostermen in DFS, a T2, you got to be pretty happy with. So some really good things. We got a lot of things right last week. Spencer and Byron and I talked about a lot. We got a lot of things right. We got some things wrong. Obviously missed on John Rahm. I think everybody was kind of shocked by how poorly Rahm played. It's a tough golf course and not a huge surprise to see some guys kind of bomb out, but really surprising with how Rahm's played. I felt like that was probably my big miss. And Ricky Fowler was a big miss for me last week. So I definitely had some big misses. Brooks was my horse in Horse for the Course article, so felt really good about that. Had Scotty in there as well, so kind of a mixed bag for me, man, taken away from the PGA Championship.
So what I heard in that whole spiel there is that the PGA of America has done a way better job than the USGA in course setup over the last 5 to 10 years.
I would agree with that statement. I think that's correct. Yeah. I think you're seeing the U.S. Open, a kinder, gentler U.S. Open is what we're going to see. What we've seen recently. I think by all accounts, probably what we're going to see at LACC this year. I'm hearing great things about it, but I'm hearing that it's kind of different from some traditional U.S. Open type layouts. So it'll be really cool to see what that offers. But yeah, man, I've really liked what the PGA's doing. Southern Hills last year, that was really cool. Yeah. So I mean, I like what the PGA's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out to our boy Stallings getting a little walk down talk, 5-minute talk with the earbud, and
yeah, man, saw that.
Kind of threw out, the our course here that's reminiscent, same designer, Don Ross. I mean, it definitely on TV. I'm not saying that Holston's anywhere to that level of golf course, but very, very similar feel or look when you're looking out off the tee boxes. Yeah. Might be 400 or 500 yards shorter. That's basically it, Joe. Well, I'm gonna take it back. There was a lot more funkier. That was still in his era where he designed greens that were 4 foot above the fairway, and at Holston it's not like that. So, but yeah, very felt like Holston looking out there, and I could see how Scott made that reference. Which shout out to Knoxville Open this weekend. That's where the KFT or Corn Ferry Tour is this week here at Holston Hills. It's literally, as a bird flies, about 1.3 miles from my house. I cannot believe I'm not a member there. Shout out to the Brook showing out on Monday qualifying. Ryan Hall, Jake Hall, 2 boys from our country club. One's a senior at UT and one's turned pro last summer. Those boys can play. So look out. And then University of Tennessee's Caleb Surratt. There's a few other Tennessee guys in there. Wes Roach making his debut back from off the injury, former PGA member. So Boo Weekly, I think, is making a showing. Then former VFL, can't think of his name. Anyway, won the state open, state and back-to-back years, I think. Anyway, former Tennessee golfer also playing. Yeah, Knoxville Open, man, it gets. I would say Holston gets probably the best pub from the players on social media that play it every year. So if you get a chance to look it up, it's not going to be on TV or nothing, but great golf course, great tournament. And this is the 3rd year, right, Joe? There.
Yeah, 3rd year, I think, at Holston.
Sig one, and then
it's a little gym, man, a little Donald Ross gym. Short by modern standards, but a really cool golf course. Glad the Corn Ferry Tour is coming here. I'm gonna try my best to get over there at least for one day this year. Hopefully. Yeah,
it's pretty pure. They've got it set perfect too. So Caleb Surratt, won the UT golfer that won the individual medalist in the SEC championship.
Absolute player.
Absolute stud. Runner-up in the U.S. Junior Am last year, I think it was. So he beat out, Sam Bennett and Gordon Sargent, whatever, in the SEC tournament. I mean, the guy's a stud, absolute stud. Shot 61, I think, 9, 10, 11 under. Heck, I don't know. Rhino went to a 8 for 3 in the playoff, and then it got down to 2 for 1 in him. They ended up playing 4 holes. Got done about 9 o'clock last night. I was pacing in the garage waiting for the text to come through from Josh Collins. But I was texting everybody I knew that might be there. Anybody out there? Anybody know what's going on? But yeah, so and then of course Jake shot 63 at Three Ridges, so which is the host of the Knox County Amateur, which I'm playing in a couple weeks. So anyway, played in the Beaverbrook Invitational last weekend, Joe. My game is not back.
You were playing hurt, buddy. We're
playing half blind in the rain.
We're going to put an asterisk on this one. Double eye infection. So we're going to give you a pass. But you still played. What'd you shoot? 73, 76?
73, 76, 5 doubles.
Decision making, sir. Decision making
And inept timing on some of the swings. First day back got it, back to 1 over, going to 17, got like 84 yards, something, hit a little wedge in there. Thinking I flagged it, and it pouring rain. It lands on the back edge of the green, goes over an 18 tee box, double 73.
I saw
flagged it. Yeah,
I saw you doubled 17. I was wondering how you did that. I just assumed you hit 1 OB on 17.
A bomb drive out there, front left pin. I was right at 11 fairway. Right me just right over the flag. Hits down slope, goes up on 18 tee. If I flag that, make birdie, I'm in the last group. So Josh Collins 0-1, 2 under, birdie 17. Then on 18, Will Collins shot 66. He had an 8-footer for birdie, lipped out, and Cody Johnson had about a 4-footer for birdie on 18 and lipped out. It was a great tournament, man. Great tournament. Usual. All the Beaver boys play like they do. That's all they play good. So yeah, good tournament. 73, 76, not very good. 5 over after 4. 5 over after 4 the second day, got it back to like 2, and then snapped it out of bounds on 14. So yeah, just a rough weekend for old poor boy, but half blind. My eyes are better. This one's still a little swollen. I got them on drops for another 3 weeks. It's pretty bad. It was bad. Eye infection got down my throat. Have you ever had eye infection that had it down your throat? That's how bad it was. But hey, Friday and Sunday, best weather we've had in months. So let's talk golf, Joe. We got these people on here for DFS, and we're over here yapping about everything else.
Yeah, so, I don't know if they care. They can't find the Beaverbrook Invitational on DraftKings.
Yeah.
So nobody's worried about that. We're catching up. We hadn't had a chance to talk much. AP's been under the weather, and we've both been super busy. So we're catching up a little bit here. So we appreciate y'all joining us. Let's talk a little bit about Colonial, AP.
Colonial, okay. Charles Schwab Challenge. This is it debuted in 1946, 77 years ago. Every single time it has been played at this golf course, the Colonial Country Club, unofficial event hosted by Ben Hogan for many of years. One of the honors of this tournament is getting the Scottish tartan plaid blazer put on you right when you if you win. Colonial also have hosted the 1975 Tour Championship, 1941 U.S. Open, and 1991 U.S. Open. It debuted as the Colonial National Invitational. It's in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. Pretty famous for Arnica Sorensen who they played here, first woman to play in a tournament in 58 years. Only time it has not played, I'm looking at, I think, is 2020 COVID year, right?
No, they played. I think this was the first one back.
Yeah. June 11th through 14th. My bad.
Yeah, I see this was the first one back, I think, from COVID.
Yeah, one of our really, really, really famous favorite tournaments. Mm-hmm. So 1975 is the only year they played it, and 49. 49.75, the only 2 years they didn't play it. So had several different names, but yeah. This is one of our favorite tournaments for sure. Pulling up the fact sheet, par 70, 72.09, stent meter 12 to 13, bent greens in Texas, which is kind of weird, which is probably why these guys go pretty low. Tournament record here is 21 under. We're going to see mid to high teens, I'd imagine, if we have good weather. We're 13 to 16 under. That's what I'm guessing. Yeah, Bermuda everywhere but the greens, which is how we like golf courses in East Tennessee. So, designed in 1936 by Perry Maxwell and John Bredemus. Yes, yeah. No redesigns here. It's the longest running event on the PGA Tour that's been hosted at the same location, which is pretty strong. And this golf tournament ain't going nowhere, folks. So if you don't like this tournament, you just ain't gonna like this week every year, because this thing, it's going to be here till the PGA Tour is no more. But we love it because it brings everybody in the field in. And I've given out a lot of facts about this tournament, Joe. And this course, if you want to add anything in there about why you like this tournament, why it kind of speaks to you, and why we like to follow things like this.
Yeah, you hit a lot there, AP. A lot of great stuff there. It's just an old school golf course, man, which I really like. Where kind of everybody in the field's in play, as you mentioned, from a DFS perspective, kind of makes it tough, makes it fun. I feel like everybody's got a shot. It's not just one of those courses like we kind of saw last week at Oak Hill, where the Bombers are just going to go out and be the only ones with a serious chance to compete. This is a positional golf course. You have to know where to be in order to kind of have an angle on your second shot. So I'm definitely leaning course history this week. Definitely leaning accuracy and precision over power. Although we've seen long guys play well here. Sam Burns won this event last year. Tony Finau, a player we'll talk about, we seen play really well here. So, it's not like long guys can't play well. But the cool thing is that the short guys can compete here. And there's some guys that we'll specifically talk about with good course history at Colonial. So yeah, man, love this golf course, old school, love the vibe. Let's get into it, man. I'm ready to go. This is one of the better tournaments we have on the PGA Tour schedule, in my opinion.
Yeah, so good field this week for this is a non-elevated event.
A very good field.
Very strong field. Haven't looked it up on the World Golf Rankings as far as the field strength yet. But yeah, great field. Couple notables that we're going to definitely hit on that got to be fan favorites, and that's Scotty Scheffler and Jordan Spieth. We'll talk about both of those guys, but they'll be at home this week. So yeah, let's just get right into it. 10K. Well, yeah, do 10K and above, but the top one really don't count because he's 11.5. Scotty Scheffler 11.5. Tony Finau 10.7. Vic Hovland, Morikawa, Homa. That's your 10K and above. Joe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can probably just go ahead and throw Jordan Spieth in there too, man. To me, he's a 10K plus player this week with the course history. Former winner here, just absolutely lives in the top 10 in this event. So I would kind of consider Jordan Spieth in that 10K range. Kind of surprising to see him at 9,900. Honestly, I think with his course history, with the form he's shown this year, I think he's going to get a ton of ownership. Just kind of tossing it out, on Tuesday with where I think things will shake out. I imagine Spieth's going to be really popular. But Scotty Scheffler's in a league of his own, man. I think you can put him a tier above, even though we mentioned this is a really good field, really strong players up at the top. I think Scotty's in the league of his own, man. Lost in a playoff here last year to Sam Burns. So, shown that he can play this golf course well. From Texas, coming in off a T2 at the PGA. And he just pretty much ranks first across the board, Andrew, in every statistical area. Anything you want to toss out, chances are Scotty Scheffler ranks first in this field, at least over the last 24 rounds. I'm talking tee to green, ball striking, off the tee, approach, DraftKings points scored. Scotty's first in all those. So it's pretty fitting that he's the only player above 11K because it does feel like he's in his own tier this week. And then down below him, between Scotty Scheffler and Jordan Spieth, two guys that I really like. There's a kind of a little pack of players that are really, really good. Tony Finau has excellent course history. Might not think that kind of the profile fits for Tony, but played really well here at Colonial. A couple top fives over the last 5 years for Finau, coming off his worst outing of the year, really, at the PGA. Surprisingly, how bad he played. But I like for him to bounce back this week. Look for that to happen. And then mentioned Victor Hovland a few minutes ago, man. Just so impressive how well he played last week. This golf course on paper sits up beautifully for him. He's an excellent ball striker from tee to green. Couple top 25s in the 2 times he's played it, but hadn't really spiked here yet. I do wonder about the fatigue factor. He's a young guy. I'm sure he's hungry to win and kind of keep the good momentum going, but you do have to wonder how much that runner-up finish last week took out of him. And then Colin Morikawa, we saw him coming off COVID. We mentioned that a minute ago in that first tournament back, lost in the playoff to Daniel Berger. And another guy that just on paper is a tremendous ball striker. We know how well he hits the irons. And basically it's just all going to come down to the putter for Morikawa. Can he make enough putts to win? You feel like the ball striking is going to be excellent. So a lot to like up here at the top, man. I love Scotty, love Jordan. And then, you really can't go wrong up here above 10K, in my opinion, this week. So it kind of comes down to preference. You got any thoughts, AP, up here? Which direction you're going? Maybe you can help me narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah. I think that right here on this course, with this power lineup up here top, and you're including Spieth in that, this would be like the perfect spot. Like, oh man, Spieth is going to like pop, right? Unfortunately, I would think that most people think that as well. So his ownership might be pretty high. He's a local favorite. He's going to be at home. So he's going to be talked about on every podcast in America about this week. Unfortunately, we still dealing with a little wrist injury, right? So that kind of throws that narrative out of the window for me. Scotty Scheffler, 11-5. I mean, we know stats are stats. The dude is a beast. He's probably going to finish top 3 this week, right? But we might not need him in our lineup to win. So I'm probably in this range. I'm going Colin Morikawa, and this I feel like he's going to be majorly overlooked. I'm not picking Homer because he just hasn't had great finishes outside the West Coast consistently great finishes. And let's be honest, his stock has went down considerably over here in the last month or so. I think Colin Morikawa is probably going to get overlooked in this price range after last week. Tony Finau's name, Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth. He's sandwiched in there with everybody, and I'm just hoping his ownership is going to be low, and I'm going to snack him up and try to steal one here. That's all I got on the 10K and above on that. Moving on down this 9K range, Joe, Siwoo Kim, Chris Kirk, Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose. Love Rosie on this course, even though he missed the cut last year. Sungjae M, Sam Burns. Sam Burns, last year's winner. This is pretty sticky right here, Joe. What are we going to do right here, man? Love Rose. Love the idea of Burns.
Yeah, I love the bottom end of this range, man. I'm just we already talked about Jordan Spieth, so I won't spend any more time on him. But I love the bottom end of this range, man. I'm going to have a ton of exposure to Rosie. Love the way he's playing. Love the fit. Love veterans on this track. Former winner here, won here in 2018. Had a T3 in 2020. Has played extremely well at Colonial. Played extremely well this year. And I love Tommy Fleetwood. I know, kind of all the arguments. He never wins. I get it. Trust me, I've been there. But still love him. And I love Chris Kirk, our boy Chris Kirk. I will have a bunch. Also a former winner at Colonial. This course suits him perfectly. So those 3 are definitely my favorite in the 9Ks. I never get Sam Burns right. Tell me if you have a different thought on Sam Burns, but I just can't put a finger on that guy.
The only thing that would scare me about Sam Burns is his play this year, or his play in the last, since the Tour Championship. That would be the only thing that get me about him. If you think about it, pure iron player, he's next level. But he seems to be a little bit streaky with his scoring. I'm not saying his putting, but just with his scoring. where maybe it might be a little off on this part of his game or that. Seems of as of late. Um, what's crazy to me is that you think Siwoo Kim would play great here. Do you not think that Siwoo Kim, since he got married, has been wildly inconsistent, even though he's had great finishes, but wildly inconsistent, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of a continuation of who he is as a player. I mean, we've seen these ebbs and flows throughout his career. So yeah, he's always a GP kind of in the GPP conversation for me in a lot of golf courses. But I'm not super surprised by the volatility. It's been an up and down roller coaster type of year for him, and we've kind of seen it throughout his career. I don't know that Siwoo's ever going to find that consistency.
Gotcha. Now a couple of players we think would play really well here at times. Ricky Fowler, Henley, McCarthy, Cameron Davis, Tom Hoagie, Minwoo Lee, Cage Lee, Ryan Harmon, Stephen Yeager, Taylor Moore, and a plethora of missed cuts last year in this little group. But right here at the top, Henley Fowler, you would think would play this golf course pretty well, Joe. But really, in all, first look, I'm kind of like, I'm not seeing it right now from this crew. Right now, we having a bounce back Cam Davis day at 8,600. He's way better talent wise than all these guys. Where are you at?
Yeah. Yeah, Cam Davis is my favorite this week. T7 at this golf course last year and last year's Schwab, and he made a nice little run at the PGA. Had a strong final round there and a nice finish for him. So I'm circling Cam Davis for me here. That's going to be my favorite. Ricky Fowler and Russell Henley both just absolutely torched me last week, which I don't like to hang on to that recency bias. So I don't want to kind of cross them out just because of that. I don't want to have an emotional reaction to what they did to me last week. But as you mentioned, AP, you would think on paper a really good course fit for both these guys. Not really been the case, at least not, in the last 5 years or so. So, I can give or take Ricky or Henley. I don't have strong feelings about them this week like I did last week. Obviously, their prices are both much, much higher. So I'm in the mid to low 7Ks last week. Now you're looking at them in the mid to high 8K range. I would rather pivot down to some plays that I prefer in the 7s and maybe spend up in the 9s. So I've heard some people talk about Minwoo Lee. I think he's a very talented player. He's a really good shot shaper, especially for a young player. Stephen Yeager, who we love, is having a breakout year. Same can be said of Taylor Moore, who's been really impressive. Already has a win this year. So Cameron Davis for me with giving a look to Stephen Yeager and Taylor Moore.
Yeah, like that call. Joe. Moving on to the 7K range, as we always say in the value range, there's too many names to mention, so we'll just throw out a few. Guy who's not had a lot of success here in the past, Joe, but I'm gonna have him in there, and the guy that I have been talking about a few times here and there that I think can, I feel like I can just come around this golf course and shoot, couple 3 under every round, and maybe not being in it for a chance to win, but definitely top 20, and you're getting down here in the 7K range makes sense. And that's Ben Ann, Joe. Of course, we're going to like Brendan Todd with his style of play for this course. Davis Riley makes sense, Joe. After that, in the 7K range, I might be able to do a couple flyers with like an Eric Cole. I like that name here.
Yeah.
Andrew Putnam's had a couple of good finishes in the last 5 years, but he's about 50-50 on making a cut. But really, as you get down here in the 7K range, especially on this course, Joe, we're going to want guys that hit the ball pretty straight, hit good iron shots, putt well, play well around the greens. We are looking for a more complete game here, Joe. And not necessarily a bomber thing is going to help you. Kind of surprised Matthew Neesmith hadn't had more success here in his history.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just think you just kind of named off Brennan Todd. I mean, you kind of checked all his boxes. He's a player that I don't play a lot. We know this. I'm not a Todd hater, but I just don't think his game's viable on a lot of the modern golf courses. But yeah, a lot of the boxes that you mentioned, AP, Brennan Todd really checks this week as far as hitting fairways. Really good proximity numbers from the yardages that will be important this week, and a really good putter. Had a third place here last year and a T8 here in 2021. So really like Brendan Todd this week. This is one of those weeks where I'm giving him the green light. I know our boy Byron really loves his fellow South African Christian Bezadenhout. Byron is all over him this week, and with good reason. The ball striking numbers are eye opening when you start looking at his recent ball striking form, and he had a T15 here last year. I really like Emiliano Grillo. I think he's very volatile. But before last week, where he shot about $1 million at the PGA Championship, he was in a really nice groove. The irons have been clicking, and the course history here is really, really nice. Had a third place here in 2018, followed that up with a T19, and then had a T8 in 2021. So Grillo is a volatile player, but a guy that I'll roster in GPPs because I love the upside we get for 7-7 here. And as you mentioned, man, you mentioned some guys down towards the bottom. These are players that we've seen kind of break out a little bit this year. I would put Hayden Buckley in that category. You mentioned Eric Cole, who I also like. I think it's a course where you can play vets, AP. So I'll, in addition to Justin Rose, I'll be looking at a little bit of Ryan Palmer this week. I don't know what you think about that, but he's a Texas guy, starting to show a little bit of form. And we've seen him make 3 out of his last 4 cuts here with the T6 coming in 2019. So I'll give Ryan Palmer a look. And you mentioned Andrew Putnam. I think there's a really strong carryover here that I noticed today between Colonial and Pebble Beach. Justin Rose won both places. Jordan Spieth won both places. Andrew Putnam's a guy that's played really well in both places. You mentioned the course history with Putnam, so you might want to look at some crossover between Colonial and Pebble Beach when doing your research this week. But I like Andrew Putnam. I don't mind him at 7,100. You mentioned Matt Neesmith. That's another name I had circled. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can go. There's even some viable plays down into the 6s this week, but I really kind of like this mid 7K range for me this week, Andrew.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of names that you can pop in there and grab and get some value in there. You just got to pick your horses or pick the ones you're wanting to gamble on, right? Or the ones you're wanting to. That's maybe not the right term. The ones you're wanting to throw your dice in on those guys. 6K range, Joe. See anybody you like down here? I'm trying to scroll down through here. What's crazy is some couple of old school vets like Sabatini's had a lot of success here over the years, and that's because he's a great iron player, right? So anybody out here you're wanting to? Man, Kisner just keeps on getting lower and lower in his price range, isn't he?
Yeah, man, I can't do Kiz.
Well, I can't either. I'm just saying, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Honestly, I mean, it's a guy that won not too long ago that we'd normally be all over, but I mean, you just can't touch him right now. I'm not sure what's up. I think there were some equipment changes, so I'm not really sure what's going on with Kiz, but not been able to get it going.
Yeah, still gonna get Dylan Wu down here in the 6,600 range. We got to find some guys that can hit the ball.
Yeah,
straight.
I mean, I like Dylan Wu, who you mentioned. Player I've been rostering a lot this year. So I really like Dylan Wu at 6,600. I'll just kind of jump all over here, man. Michael Kim at 6,700. Another player I like, a guy I've been playing quite a bit. Ches Reavie at 6,900. I think his game, we know he's streaky, definitely not the longest guy in the world, but if he can get some putts going, I think he's dangerous. Had a T27 here last year, so I like Ches Reavie at 6,900. As I said, Michael Kim and Dylan Wu. I think you can give a look to Mark Hubbard, a guy that's made 3 straight cuts here. He's popped a little bit this year. Do you want to talk about vets, AP? Jimmy Walker, a couple top 20s here in the last 5 years, and has flashed some form. Kind of rediscovered his game this year a little bit. So don't mind giving Jimmy Walker a look at 6,500, and then just some guys that we're aware of, guys that we know that can get hot, but I don't want to trust in Sam Ryder and Patton Kazire. I mean, these are guys that we know can get going from time to time, but certainly not guys I want to count on. I will mention Carson Young, man. Just broke a record qualifying for the U.S. Open, and we've seen him play well recently. A Korn Ferry Tour graduate play well in some PGA Tour events, kind of the lesser events. But certainly a dude that's on fire. This is going to be his course debut at Colonial, so you never know how that's going to go. But just wanted to toss that out there. Carson Young at 6,300. Kind of same thing with Chad Ramey. Very erratic guy, but had a T27 here last year. I like him on shorter golf courses. So there's some options down here. Nobody I really want to put all my chips in the middle on, but guys that I think you can certainly throw in some GPP lineups and not feel too bad about this week.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Joe. So I'm just going to go right it to you then. Who's your dart play of the week?
Man, there's so many good ones. I forgot to mention Sam Stevens. I don't know that the course fit's going to be great. He's at 7,100. I like him just as a player. Don't know specifically this week that I love him, but he's a guy that's coming on. We want to keep an eye on in the future. I'll say Emiliano Grillo. That's who I'm going with. That'll be my dart throw of the week. He's erratic, coming off a really bad week at the PGA, but I'm going to buy the dip here with Grillo. I'm a believer in Byron's buddy. What about you, man? Who are you throwing your dart with?
There ain't no telling what kind of money that man's thrown in the fire on Emilio Grillo. Just no return. Throw the bait on the hook and just come back with just a hook. You know it, that guy. I'm looking up an odd right now. Let's see. I can actually look it up over here. Let's pull this up, Joe. Let's look up a man that I think he's not played great this year. Top 40.
I feel like we're just about to come out of left field with this one.
Oh,
I love it.
So far out. It's so far. I mean, it's got to be in the 4s or 600s. I got so much stuff on my TV screen, Joe, or on my computer screen, trying to keep up with all this. All right. Let's go to the very bottom because we're going to find him. Tyler. What do you think, Joe?
Who?
I can't even find him. That's how bad he is. 6,300.
Tyler Duncan. I think he's 6,200. I think maybe
200. There you go.
Yeah.
I can't even find him on the odds board. That's how low he is. Tyler Duncan. Only 2-1 to make the top 40. There ain't no way that's right. Got to be higher. Got to be higher than that, Joe. Maybe not. 2-1 to finish in the top 40. That's not bad odds, I guess.
We're going with it. Tyler Duncan and Emiliano Grillo.
Tyler Duncan 2-1 on 2-1 and to finish top 40.
I'm scared to ask where your heart's at, man. Who are you going with on your heart play?
I think Colin hadn't played well this year, but it wouldn't surprise me if we got I'm gonna throw like 3 or 4 names out there, but I'll end with my heart. I think coming down the stretch, you're gonna have some Scotty Scheffler in there somewhere. I think Jordan will be close, but I don't know about winning. We got to think Tommy, Colin, Justin Rose, and Colin Morikawa wins this week.
Colin Morikawa is who you like.
Uh,
It's a great course fit, man. It's a really good course fit.
You're not getting great odds, honestly, right?
Yeah, where's he at? Where's he at this week?
16-1, maybe. I'll look on the big board where I can read them all. But golly, DraftKings is offering a 200-point boost for block to make the cut.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of action on Michael Block cut bets this week, which is crazy.
Morikawa, you can get a 16-8. You might be able to find him at 18-1 somewhere. So
yeah, I mean, it's a great fit, man. And he's so talented. Hits the ball so well that you have to think one of these weeks putts are going to go. You kind of just wonder. I don't know. This is getting a little narrative narrative street, but you kind of wonder what would happen if he'd have won the Tournament of Champions. You know, that huge collapse, the very first tournament this year. Kind of wonder what happens if he wins that thing and doesn't just have that epic collapse. Seems like it's really affected him this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you know, and that's something we can't put a number on statistically, but it just feels that way. And you wonder if he wins that event and comes out of Hawaii with positive momentum, kind of where he's at right now. But I'm gonna go Justin Rose, man. I've been on kind of a vet kick lately, so I think Colonial's a good place to kind of play these boys that have been around the block a time or two. And Rose didn't do anything fancy, but he's striping the irons. I mean, absolutely striping the irons. I think his problem's been finding fairways, and I think he'll be able to do that this week.
Man, he that tournament last weekend was exactly like the Masters that Hideki won with Rose. Yeah. Could not hit a fairway, made every putt, hit every iron. You know, I like another number I'm gonna throw out there. You can get Jaeger a little better than 2-1 to make the top 20. I like that.
Yeah, Jaeger's been playing well, man. Yeah, Justin Rose gained 4.6 strokes on approach last week. AP gained strokes with his irons in every start this year. And just feels like he's kind of on the radar a little bit. I mean, I guess, you know, people don't like talking 40-year-old guys up. I mean, I get it. But the dude won at Pebble. We talked about that crossover. Top 20s at the Masters, at Torrey. Top 25 at the Heritage in that elevated field. Obviously a T10 last week, or a T9 last week. Had a T6 at the Players. So the dude's golfing his ball this week. You know, I think he's the type of guy. We've seen him go on these runs, man, where he's just a top 10 machine. Are we back there? I don't know. But I like taking my chances with Rosie this week.
Yep, I like it too, Joe. All right, man. Rotoballer.com. If you're going to get on there and use the premium package, use our promo code TURN, save you a little money. Joe Nicely, Andrew Putters, thank you, Rotoballer.com, for everything you do for us. Everybody, check out Knoxville Open this weekend. I hope you got some value from our show tonight. Thank you, everybody. This is the Turn Golf Podcast.